Interested in Bitcoin? Need to know more about cryptocurrency? How about buying, selling, and mining? Then listen to Gary Leland and Tony Sakala, better known as the Crypto Cousins, on the Crypto Cousins podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Crypto Cousins. This is cousin Gary Leland here.
This is cousin Tony Sakala.
And together we're the Crypto Cousins. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Oh, fantastic. I'm super excited. There's no doubt about it.
Well, you should be. Bitcoin, let's just give them the prices real quick. Bitcoin, today, a new record high, like right as we're speaking, $6,394.40. Tony, that's only up $842.13 since last week, or 15.1%. Now, that's a pretty good return for 1 week.
For 1 week, it's astronomical.
Yeah, it's astronomical. But let me say, Tony and I are not financial advisors. We're just some guys playing with crypto and enjoying the ride. Right, Tony?
That's for sure. We're definitely enjoying the ride. It's a really great feeling after being, in the regular workplace where you just make money week to week. You put it in the bank. You make no interest. I mean, it's just been a grind for years. This feels like the sun has finally come out.
I just can't believe it's up $842 since our show last week. One Bitcoin. I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me. I am so glad. And the thing is, just so everybody knows, I for sure am not an expert on this. I've been in Bitcoin for about a month. Tony's been in it for years, but personally, I am not an expert, and we're kind of learning as we go along and sharing with you. But I bought Bitcoin, Tony. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember.
You told me about it at Big D, and I bought it a month ago at $3,600 a coin. I mean, I've almost doubled my money. I mean, in a month.
It's extraordinary because you talk to folks and they'll say, oh, man, I guess it's too late. So they don't act. And guess what happens? It's too late. It continues to be too late for them because they're not acting. When I told you what's happening, you said, I'm jumping right in. And so that was the difference. You made a choice.
Well, that's the way I am, Tony. I'm like, if I decide to do something, I do it right away. I told a friend of mine, I've known him forever, and I said, I don't know if you know about this Bitcoin, but, you may want to look at it and get into it. And he said, well, gosh, it's like it was $4,500, I think, at the time. And he goes, it's $4,500. We kind of missed the boat. It was like, I wish I could have gotten in at $700. And I said, Robert, coming 2 years from now, if you say you got in for under $5,000, you're going to sound like a rocket scientist. And he's still not in. But that's true. Yeah. I think that people are going to go, wow, you got in for under $5,000? Wow. How'd you know? We're saying you got in for under $1,000 to some people. It's still early is what I'm getting at.
It's still early. That's the thing. It is still the Wild West when Bitcoin is used on every phone for every transaction to buy coffee, to buy candy, to buy cigarettes. I mean, that's when it's going to be boring and mainstream. We are so far from that.
Yeah, we're so far from that, and it's going to keep growing. Hey, and talking about growth, Tony, our podcast had 2,000 listens last week. 2,000.
That's crazy.
That's great. For those who don't know, I've been in podcasting since the beginning. I'm in the Podcast Hall of Fame. That's like really one of my major verticals that I'm into. The average podcast, after 45 days, an episode of an average podcast gets 200 listens. Okay, so... Ooh. If you get 200 listens, you're doing better than half the people out there. We're at the point now with 2,000 listens in 45 days. In 45 days, if our numbers keep like they are, we're going to be in the top 5% of podcasts on the planet.
Nice. I mean, very nice. Well, that's no pressure because we are, we're just having a good time.
We are, and we're sharing our info, and we're learning. Say, hey, also, like on iTunes, Tony, I was doing some digging around yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I just did some keywords to see how we ranked after the week, Under the word cryptocurrency is one word. We're number 30 out of all the podcasts, iTunes in that category. Under Bitcoin, we're number 24. Under the word Etherium, we're number 12. And if you take cryptocurrency as two words, we're the number one podcast in that search term on iTunes.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool after a week.
Well, I definitely give thanks to you, Gary. I'm sure that you've got us all in the right places.
Well, you're the one that got us going on this, and you know way more than I do about it. But before we do get going, Tony, I want to make sure everybody knows we want them sending in questions because we want to bring them on this show. We want to grow the family. We want to get all our cousins on here. And by that, I mean everybody who's into crypto is a cousin. So give us a call at 747-777-9471 and ask us any question, and we'll find out the answer for you. So 747-777-9471. And if you don't have a pen with you, you're in your car, hey, guess what? You can rewind this when you get home. Hey, Tony, what's your article of the week there? It was pretty interesting looking to me.
Yes, it was about the comparison between gold bugs, people who buy gold as an investment vehicle, and people who buy Bitcoin. And it was doing some comparison there. It seems that gold bugs really have maybe a little, we call it maybe a gold chip on their shoulder. And, they don't feel like Bitcoin has intrinsic value. And you hear that all the time from people. What's Bitcoin's intrinsic value? And they point to gold. You can use it in jewelry, you can use it in electronics, and yeah, but what is it about Bitcoin? It's just this digital thing. Well, the article goes on to point out, how it was used as a collectible for the early cryptocurrency people. They thought it was interesting and curious, and so they collected it. And now, of course, it has its own intrinsic value because you can compare it to the dollar, and people are buying it because it's rare. The only way you can get a Bitcoin is to know someone with a Bitcoin, go to an exchange and buy it off of an exchange from someone with a Bitcoin who's willing to sell, or you can mine it yourself. And that's a huge undertaking. So because it's so rare, the price is going up.
Well, I also always wonder about, if you I don't think gold's easy to buy stuff with either. People say Bitcoin's hard to buy stuff. I don't think you can walk around with a block of gold. I mean, I'm not even talking about a whole bar. I'm talking about a piece of gold that's worth $1,200 an ounce of gold or whatever it is today. And you can't walk into a store and go, I want a Coke. Let me shave you off a little piece of this.
Exactly. It is hard to use. I talked with someone who does have gold, and what he says, you take a bar, you go to the gold store downtown in your city, and you sell it, and you come back home with the cash, and you take the wife out for a wonderful steak dinner, or you go to vacation somewhere, and that's how they do it.
Yeah, so that's not very easy.
No, it's not very easy at all.
Yeah, and so. To me, the other thing that seems weird about gold to me, Tony, is all these gold funds, that you can buy into on the stock market. I've heard that there's more gold in the gold funds than there is gold to be had.
Isn't that weird? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that they're like, and that's what's really ruining the price of gold is all these funds. Or if it wasn't for all these funds. Gold funds, the price of gold would be higher. I'm not an expert, like I said, or a financial expert, but that's just, I heard a guy talking about that, and it kind of made sense to me because I know you got gold funds, you got silver funds, you got all kinds of funds. And I don't know that they have a bar of gold or an ounce of gold for every $1,200 invested in the fund. I mean, I don't think they have it sitting there. Tony, I think if you said, I'm going to put $100,000 into this gold fund, I don't think they order $100,000 worth of gold from Fort Knox or somewhere and sit it in the vault.
I definitely doubt that.
So that's why I'm saying I think they could have more gold than they could get access to, which is ruining the price of gold, where crypto, especially Bitcoin, is limited. We know how many it's going to be. 21 million. 21
million, and the last one will be mined in 2140. That's the year 2140.
You know what we should do is next week, because this week we're talking about I forget what blockchain. Next week we should
What is
talk
the
about
blockchain? Yeah.
we should talk about mining.
Mining is my favorite topic.
Yeah, so because that'll kind of go into kind of the order, but talking about we were talking about trying to buy stuff with gold and how it wouldn't be easy to walk around with your block of gold, or he has to go downtown and sell his gold for dollars. That's the thing that my wife, I caught myself that time. My wife always says, how do I spend this imaginary money? How do I spend it? Well, actually, my tool of the week is a app called bitpay.com. And bitpay.com, with bitpay.com, it's an online, it's a wallet, an online wallet for your phone or your website or whatever, but you also can get a Visa card, a Visa debit card through bitpay.com that you load up Bitcoin on. And I can walk into any store and use it just like any debit card and buy stuff. Now,
I think what we're seeing is that just like when computers came out and just like when the web came out, the first thing we do is we copy the old medium.
Right. Well, you gotta have a way to spend it, or who's going to want it forever? I mean, it's the early days, but you gotta have a way.
It is the early days. No, and I think it's an observation. It's not a judgment. I just think that you put it on a credit card and then you use it like that, and then it works just like that. And that's just how we start. We model the old technology,
right?
And we copy it. And, we had the desktop metaphor on the computers, dragging things around on a desktop and, all that sort of thing. And then you get into the web. And so what do we got? We have web pages. I mean, what is a page? Well, you got a book and pages. So then you have the web pages. So now we've got this blockchain where you can send money just like an email anywhere in the world. And you can cut it up into 100 millionth of a Bitcoin.
Right.
And so we're getting there.
Well, on the I'm going to get a Visa card from BitPay. If anyone's interested in it's bitpay.com. And what they do is they charge you $9.95 for the card. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. It's because I was having a problem, trying to figure it out. So I sent them an email and I got a response back. We're really busy right now. You'll hear back with us within the next 4 or 5 days. I was like, well, this kind of sucks. Excuse me, but this is kind of a bummer for that much time. But then I got an answer back like in half an hour. So they were pretty responsive, even though they said they weren't going to be. But and they gave me links to help figure it out. So I'm going to buy a card for $9.95 and put $50 on it and go use it just to see how easy is this use, and then I can report back to the show and tell everybody how it's going as to whether I got ripped off for my $50 or whether it was really easy But like I said last week. It's like when I was in Greece a couple weeks ago. I walk in with a U.S. credit card. They don't get dollars. It's automatically exchanged into euros. Mm-hmm. And that's the way this would be. It's not like they're going to get Bitcoin. It's going to be dollars they get. They actually probably won't even know the difference. They just know I'm giving them a card.
Well, I'm sure you're not going to spend too much on that card because I recall your latest blog post. Fascinating topic. I was in the store last night thinking, oh my God, am I going to buy this or am I going to buy more Bitcoin?
Exactly. And it's true. If you haven't seen our blog, go to cryptocousins.com. I was going to put that in the show notes in our outline here. Talking about, I forgot all about it, but I wrote a post called Bickius. What is Bickius? You'll have to read it, but it's basically buying Bitcoin instead of buying stuff.
I think I saved myself like $7. I didn't buy some cookies yesterday. I thought, do I need these cookies or do I need $7 more Bitcoin?
Well, I usually buy stuff on my cruise. I usually buy actually art on my cruise, and I went in the casino and I won pretty decent. And Kathy goes, "Are you going to go to the art auction?" I said, "No, I think I'm going to keep this in this trip and invest in Bitcoin," which I did yesterday, and it's up already today. So.
Nice.
Hey, this weekend I went to the Texas Bitcoin conference, Tony, down in Austin, Texas.
I saw some of your interviews.
Yeah,
you met some interesting people.
Linda Snow put that on at TexasBitcoinConference.com, and I'm telling you, this thing was packed. I mean, it was packed. I don't think they could have got any more booths in there. Mm-hmm. The hallways were just crammed with people. They had great speakers. They did have one speaker that I wanted to see that didn't show up, but everybody else did. And it was a great conference, so I would recommend that to anyone. And I want to thank Linda again for the press pass. There's just so many people there to meet, and so many new companies.
Yeah,
So many people coming out with new tokens.
Yeah, new tokens. I saw you interviewed the Nexus company?
Yes.
The head of a new type of blockchain. It sounded very fascinating with a different type of cryptographic hash. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah, they were really nice. They became my good buddies, matter of fact. They were the first people I interviewed, so I kept my gear at their booth. So I want to thank them for letting that be my home base. That was like my home base, was their booth. So that was pretty cool. But I want to make sure everybody knows, check out that link for next year, because that was a good conference to go to. Definitely great speakers and great vendors. Everything about it was really good. Hey, let's get into today's topic, though. I think we've had enough chit-chat. Today's topic is blockchain. And you're going to be more of an expert on this than me, because you're more of an expert on all this than me, first of all. But, Tony, you really can't have Bitcoin without blockchain.
That's a really great concept. Yeah. It's just, you can't separate the two. People like to try to separate the two. They want to take their blockchain and not take their Bitcoin, or they like crypto, but they don't. It all goes together. The core revelation that Satoshi Nakamoto had, whether it's a he, a she, or a they, or maybe Satoshi was an AI who artificial intelligence who created Bitcoin. Not quite sure, but Satoshi Nakamoto understood that you had to lock up a digital asset so that they couldn't be spent twice. You know, what's the big problem on the internet? You put up an MP3, an MP4, you put up a music or a video, and it's copied a million times. The internet is the biggest copy machine on the planet. So Hollywood was obviously upset. Book publishers are upset. You put a PDF up or something, it gets copied. So how can you have a digital currency where you just don't just copy more Bitcoins and just
Actually, without it, it'd be really easy to make fake money. Counterfeit.
Exactly. So that's why there's cryptographic hashing. And cryptographic functions lock up the money in a way that only one person can spend it, and that's you. And when you spend it, you can only spend it once, because the network checks. The network goes out and checks every transaction on the digital ledger, which is a blockchain, puts them all together for the transactions that took place in the last 10 minutes are put together in a block, and the miners do the work. Mining is just one of the functions that keeps the network together. They mine it. In other words, they look at the transactions, they verify them, they do a cryptographic function which ties the previous block with the current block with the next block. They're all tied together in a chain, hence blockchain, a chain of blocks. And when you look back, you can see that each transaction, you can go back to the very first transaction that ever took place on the Bitcoin blockchain. That's the Genesis block, the very first block, and you can see everything that happens. So it's quite transparent, quite open. You'll see just numbers. It doesn't say, Satoshi Nakamoto gave money to somebody else. There's no names there. It's just numbers. And the blockchain is open. You can look at it. There are blockchain explorers. You can Google blockchain explorer or go to block info, we'll put it in the show notes. There's lots of them that you can actually go and see what each individual block looks like and who spent what where.
And so I noticed that when I transfer money from Coinbase to my wallet, it's approved by, it takes a while to do it, but it looks like it finally ends up getting approved by 6 people. Is that right? Sound right?
it gets improved by many people. You'll see 6 is one of the numbers they say, hey, wait till you get 6 confirmations till you know that the transaction is confirmed. So when you go out and you look on the blockchain, if you go to blockchain.info, and you'll see your transaction and it'll say unconfirmed or 1 confirmation or 6 confirmations or hundreds of confirmations, then you'll know with increasing certainty that the transaction was valid.
Okay, so right now, like I said, I just go to Coinbase and I download my wallet and I just wait for them to, it says 1 confirmed, then 2 confirmed, and then 3 confirmed. But I can go to a website, you're saying, see, I don't even know this, and find out. And what do I put in the website? What do I do with this website to find my block?
Well, if you're spending money or sending money, sending it or getting it, now you have an address. You have a public address. That's your public place where people can send you money. And your private keys are hidden. No one sees those. No one knows your private keys. But the public address is a long string of numbers and letters. And when you type that into blockchain.info, there's right at the very top, there's a search bar. If you type, copy and paste that, type it in, paste it in, then you'll see the page that shows how many confirmations took place. It'll show the balance on that particular wallet address, and you'll know everything that ever happened.
So we have an address we use for people if they want to donate to the show, which, by the way, if you do want to donate to the show, just go to cryptocousins.com/donate. But there we have a number, Tony. So you can take that number and see how much money's been donated. Is that right?
Exactly.
So anyone can see how we're doing. And they can see we're not cleaning up.
We're not cleaning up. Exactly.
But but basically, though, anyone can go to that and say, okay, how they're so. If you send someone your number to transfer crypto to you, like if I sent you my number, and you said, hey, I'm going to give you $5, and I said, great, I'm going to put it in my personal address or wallet, you'd be able to see exactly how much total I have of Bitcoin. Is that right?
That's one of the beauties of Bitcoin. It's open. You can see the transactions. It's also one of the downfalls. That's why other coins like Zcash came out, which enabled people to hide the transaction in a more secure way. So what you could do after the money came, after someone, is you can just never use that address again. So you can take addresses in your wallet and continually generate new ones.
Oh, I see.
Now, and we don't have to be afraid of running out of wallet addresses, because the number of potential wallet addresses is 2 to the 160th power.
So what does that mean?
It means that it's such a large number that there are more potential Bitcoin wallets addresses than the number of atoms in the universe.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to running out anytime soon. Okay. So you're saying if you didn't want anyone really knowing your business, you could just create a new wallet address, a new address every time you receive money.
Exactly. And some wallets do that automatically. They'll generate a new address, payment address. And so that one transaction will be the only one on that address.
Now, blockchain can be used for a lot more than cryptocurrency, though, because I met a lot of people this week, and I met some people who were doing this thing with medical records, where your medical records would be on the blockchain, was what their ICO was about. And they were going to, and those who don't know, ICO is like an initial coin offering. They were coming out with a new coin, and it was going to be a blockchain for hospital records. And so your hospital records followed you in the blockchain. I mean, there's a lot of things. I heard one for gaming the other day, for doing games, keeping up with the game that kids play, online games. So there are a lot of uses for blockchain besides just money. I mean, this technology, you can't have Bitcoin without blockchain, but you can have blockchain without Bitcoin.
Exactly. People feel like they want to do something different. They want to improve upon technology. It's a free world. We can, anyone can do whatever they choose. They can decide to take it, and like the folks at Nexus, they're using what they believe is a more secure cryptographic hash. Bitcoin uses SHA-256. It's a cryptographic signature that is 256 bits long, so it's really big and resistant to hacking. But people are afraid if there's such a thing as a quantum computer that gets fast enough to outpace regular computers, things that would trying to guess someone's password that would take 100 million years could be quickened with a quantum computer into maybe just a few hours. So the folks at Nexus made a bigger. What did they say? It was 1024, twice as large was the cryptographic signature, and they also included something else, which they say made it resistant to quantum hacking. The beautiful thing about the Bitcoin blockchain is that it's constantly being improved by Bitcoin improvement protocols. So there are ways to contribute. You can say, I'd like to make it better. Here's an idea. And the Bitcoin improvement protocol, BIP, is the way the Bitcoin blockchain gets better. The code behind it gets better. And there is a code behind it. There's a scripting language behind Bitcoin that runs every day. And the Ethereum gets the headlines for being able to do a lot of programming on top of it. Ethereum is that, as we talked about last week, one of the big coins, one of the big cryptocurrencies.
Hey, Tony, I have to break in. Breaking news.
Breaking news. We have a new
breaking news. This is live. Breaking news. Bitcoin just hit 6,400 exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Up 5.4% since yesterday. Up $327.93 since yesterday. That's it for today's breaking news.
I love it.
That just happened. I just pulled it up and looked at it, and it just flipped over. Oh my gosh. That's going crazy. So sorry for the breaking news. I just thought that we should break in for that.
You were talking about protocols, and people want to hear about the price. I don't blame them.
I did. I was excited. But so
yes.
So what other things can blockchain be used for?
People use it for. You interviewed the other company was doing some sort of advertising with it.
Right.
They said to keep the middleman out. So, we talked about last week, what's the big philosophical reason behind Bitcoin is that it keeps the central bankers, the central authorities out of your money business. You don't have to go show a ID card, a national ID card, a license. You don't have to show a picture of yourself, your passport. You don't have to get strip searched to put money into the system. You can just put it in the system, and the Bitcoin network doesn't ask you what color your skin is. It doesn't ask you who you are, what country you live in. It just takes the money, puts it in an address, and the money gets sent wherever it needs to go, wherever people feel it needs to go. And just because some people feel like they can determine what's a good transaction or a bad transaction, the Bitcoin network does not do that. The transaction will go through. The only thing that determines it is the market value. You must pay for the transaction by paying a tiny bit of fee. And the fees vary between, a few pennies or $3 or $4. Or $5, whatever it might be. And that takes place through the market. The market determines the value. The miners determine which blocks they want to mine. And it doesn't, it's not a political decision.
I thought of a blockchain that I could make that I think would be pretty handy. I don't know if the community is ready for this or not, but for softball, all these softball players have to have ID cards and proof of insurance, and that they're a certain age, because you can't be 16 years old and playing in the under 14-year-old. So they could have that blockchain. I mean, from the time they start at 8 years old, it could follow their whole career, couldn't it?
That's a really great idea.
And so you wouldn't have to, all you do is give them the number, and bam, there it is. No matter what team you're on, I mean, Because the team would have to, put you in their blocks, I guess, to have you on their team. Okay, this person's on my team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in each year, the age would increment. You'd know exactly how old the person was, when their birthday was, and what teams they played on. And you can see, baseball is another one. That both baseball and softball, all of those sports are very statistics heavy.
Right. And actually, when someone went to college, a college coach could look at their block, I guess, and say, wow, look at this kid. This kid has been the top pitcher for the last 5 years in high school and in travel ball and middle school. We're interested in this kid. Oh, this kid doesn't have any history. I'm not going to pay the money to fly and see this kid that doesn't have any history. Hadn't done jack.
Something tells me this is going to be real. If you have the idea, Gary, it usually is real in a couple of hours.
Well, it won't be that quick, but it's just something I started thinking about last night. You could do this with any sport. And then it takes away, actually, what it does, it gets rid of a lot of associations that monitor all that and monitor it the hard way. And you got to go to the website and you pay them a fee every year, $95 a player or something, and then you go to the other league and the other league says, we don't know about that league. You got to be a member of paying our thing too for us to have records of you.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's just what I was thinking about that on blockchain. So blockchain can be used a lot of ways, though. Like I said, basically it's the ledger sheet for Bitcoin and what we're doing, but it can be used. This is new technology that's going to get into everything.
And, people wonder, well, if there's this whole blockchain and this whole network, do I have to download the whole blockchain, and do I have to keep it on my computer or my phone or what have you? And the network does a lot of the heavy lifting. Most wallets don't have an entire blockchain on them. They just go out and they send a message out and say, well, let's get the answer from one of the nearby what would be called full nodes on the network. And, we were talking about it earlier this week about creating a full node for ourselves, where we would actually have the whole Bitcoin blockchain downloaded and on a local computer that we maintained.
I keep hearing people say that you need your own node, and I don't know exactly what it means. I haven't read that article you sent me yet, but I hear that a lot, that you need to control a node, but I don't know what that means.
I think we're going to explore it. We've already got the mining thing going, and we'll get ourselves a node, and we'll be able to have the entire Bitcoin blockchain. And so when a transaction goes through, we can check it immediately.
And we'll be able to talk more intelligently about blockchain, or I will. Also, we're getting our own currency, our own cryptocurrency. The cousin. And that I like what Tony came up with that. It's CO, first two letters, IN, and the last two letters of cousin, which is coin. And in the middle is US. And we're the crypto cousin. So it's a US coin, kind of. I liked how that went together there. But we'll tell you more about that on a future show. But I can tell you this, the coin, the cousin will have no value. So we'll probably just give those away in the thousands.
Yeah, well, and we'll start like Bitcoin. It starts as a collectible. People are going to be like, "Oh, wow, you have the cousin coin? I want some cousin coin.
I want that coin that's not worth any money."
Exactly. Well, then, if you really want it badly enough, you're going to have to pay.
Yeah, I guess so. I also want to make sure people know, if you're listening to this, make sure you go and subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review and a comment. If you're listening on like our website or something and you have an iPhone, go to cryptocousins.com/iTunes. And if you have an Android device, go to cryptocousins.com/play for Google Play. But go to those sites and subscribe so you can get our show automatically every week. Or if nothing else, just go and give us a 5-star review and write us a nice comment that you like what we're doing here. That helps our show grow. So we need them all to do that, Tony.
Yes, we work for stars. Since our Bitcoin donation address is not even registering,
we work for stars instead of Bitcoin. We'll take the Bitcoin, but we'll settle for stars at this point. That's a good way to put it, Tony. Well, Tony, anything you want to leave everybody with? We're at that magic time period. We need to be getting out of here. We're trying to keep it at 30, and guess what? We're at 37, so we didn't do too good a job again this week either.
Well, we did pretty well. We did better than last time. Well, you know what's going to happen. It hit 64, new all-time high. You know how people are. They love round numbers. We're going to see a bounce back from that. There'll be a pullback. People will be,
Tony, you're not going to believe this. It's 65.
No, I'm not believing that.
I'm joking.
Good try, Gary. But believe me, we're going to see it's just going crazy. There's really no reason why the price would ever go down. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I feel like Bitcoin is the early market leader, and as we see in any networked world, there's a winner-take-all philosophy. There's a winner-take-all dynamic that takes place, and so the first front runner ends up with all of the riches, and then everybody else is less. They get. I mean, it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, so there's still a lot left. But I do believe Bitcoin is going to be the what do we call it? The honey badger.
Honey badger. Well, I'm a hodler, which means holding on for dear life, not a trader. I'm not buying and selling Bitcoin. I'm just buying. And I don't care if it goes up or down. I'm just holding because I believe long term that's the deal. So, the more you hold, the more the price will go up because people who want it will have to go find somebody else willing to sell. And then, I was talking to a friend of mine who said, "Oh, I know some people that lost money on Bitcoin." And I said, "Well, since it's the highest it's ever been, I mean, they must have just sold it on a dip because it's like anything. It will have people taking profit." Or people dipping. I mean, if you bought Bitcoin at 50 cents and you're sitting on 500 of them, you might consider selling some at the highest price ever and get some cash to go spend, But so unless you buy a high and sell in the dips, seems to me like it's over the time period of this done. It's a pretty good deal. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just holding. Hold
and keep your private keys private.
Keep your private key private. And we'll have to have a show on wallets, too, one time. But next time, let's do mining, because we're getting into that. We both have some machines now mining, and we can answer people's questions on that.
I love mining. It's great fun.
I know I'm mining, but I'm just not 100% sold that it's better than just taking that money and putting it into Bitcoin. So that'll be our discussion. You'll be for mining, and I'll be like going, well, why don't I just buy $1,500 worth of Bitcoin or $2,000 worth of Bitcoin? And we'll
have the great mining debate.
The great mining debate next week. Hey, thanks everyone for listening. Tony, as always, thanks for joining me on the show, and thanks for getting me into Bitcoin. And make sure and check out our website, cryptocousins.com. Make sure and go to Facebook and join our group. We've got two new cousins that have joined us that is moderating the group for us, Tony.
Fantastic.
And, so we're getting volunteers that want to help us out and moderate the group for us. So just go to Facebook and search Crypto Cousins. You'll see we have a page and a group. Get involved. Get involved is what I'm telling everybody. Let's get this. Let's make this. I want the whole family. I want everybody in here to be a cousin.
Yes, everyone should be a cousin. Get involved. Learn as much as you can because it is the future of finance and the future of a lot of tech, of different industries, is going to be based on Bitcoin, blockchain, etc. We just scratched the surface. We didn't have time to talk about all of the things that it can do.
Yeah, and also don't forget, give us a call, leave us a message. We want to answer your questions on the Crypto Cousins. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Gary.
Adios, everybody. Bye.
Bye, folks.
The Crypto Cousins podcast and information in the podcast are not intended as investment advice. Cryptocurrencies are risky. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always seek professional advice before making any investment. Investing in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies may present tremendous risks. Please understand that you are using any and all information available on or through the Crypto Cousins podcast at your own risk.